Today, I'm Dave Cummings. I'm the Chief Information Officer here in the county. Joining me from Technology Services is my Chief Technology Officer and my budget guru, Dave DeVore, who can squeeze a dollar out of a dime. So I'm glad I have him here with me today. For those of you that don't know what we do in the county here, we do almost all the technology. We obviously don't do the stuff for the sheriff's office where they interface with the state, and we don't do the computer systems over at West that are out at their facilities, and we don't do library network. But everything else in the county that has to do with technology, we do. We have 2 major data centers in the county. We have 5 phone switches because we are our own phone company, and we do AV equipment. We do like 1,200 CCTV cameras. We have an extensive fiber network through the county that most people know about, the CBX and what we do with that, the Clackamas Broadband Exchange, and we support major ERP systems like PeopleSoft and other tax and assessment systems and others throughout the county. So we have database staff that do that, staff of about, I think we have 53 now. Database people, network guys, applications, systems guys, and an extensive call center with techs that support the desktops, laptops, iPhones, anything else that's electronic out there. And I'm very proud of them because in 1 week we were able to disperse during the COVID and get everybody up and going remotely so we can do stuff like we're doing today, which is Zooming. So I'm going to have David go ahead and start up with our revenue and expenses sheets. Can you display that, Dave?
Is it showing here?
Yeah, that's some of our staff in our call center. Revenue and expense, there you go, Dave. It should say revenue over that big kind of purple dot there. For some reason it disappeared. But those are our revenues that are coming in, and the biggest portion, about 70%. We do direct billing for a lot of our services, some indirect billing, and we do cost allocation to bring in revenue. And some of the other revenue we have coming in, the CBX, which is totally self-sustainable, brings in its own revenue for the department. We do have some general fund support. I think our PeopleSoft and our GIS and our web developers and our document imaging folks are all coming out of general fund. But we have other funding coming in from franchise fees from the CBX, and some GIS funding from the state we have coming in. And we also have some fund balance because we carry over revenues so that we can make some large purchases. For example, this year we just purchased almost $1 million worth of network equipment to refresh our network. We do that with our phone systems too. We usually save up in our capital funds and we use that to buy the new phone systems. So on the expenditure side, obviously, as we've been talking about a lot in the budget presentations, is staffing. And hopefully all these old people are retiring and going away so we can save the money in the budget. I'm one of those old people. But a lot of your money goes to salaries and benefits, and you need those staffing to run your programs. Our maintenance and services budget is about 27% of our budget, and that's pretty high because we have to pay the software maintenance, and it's an area where you really can't cut because those charges from the vendors go up every year. Microsoft licensing is one of those, and our PeopleSoft maintenance fees are one of them. Just something that's there that you have to deal with. We have some indirect charges from my department. We have cost allocation that we have to pay ourselves. Capital fund for our hardware, like I said before, the CBX and telecom have capital funds that they have in the budget that they have to spend or not spend or carry over. And then we have some other internal transfers. One was Chris Hawkins, a staffing position that we moved over to the BCC, and some other funding that we moved into contingency. So I'm going to get into my budget summary, revenue and expenses, which is the next slide. And I'm going to have my budget expert that is also my chief technology officer run through the budget for you, like Aaron Knapp did for Evelyn, and give you an idea of what our budget looks like this year. Go ahead, Dave, and take that over, bud.
Oh, thank you. Okay. One thing I would like to mention on the budget is that it's our budget because we do carry, like Mr. Cummings said, a large reserve from year to year, so we can pay for equipment and not actually go back to the board or someone asking for new purchases. Means that when we compare our proposed budget to adopted or amended, it gets very skewed every year. We started a new reserve program a few years ago. Some of the people on the budget committee may remember we started that, and it means we don't have to go back and try to request $1 million in a new fiscal year for network gear. But what that means is as we build those reserves and then spend them, that carryover in fund balance from what we start and when we put supplemental budgets in to carry it over does skew our numbers quite a bit. So it does make it sometimes hard to look at our budgets. So we'd like to look from adopted to adopted to show where we're really changing. For this next year, though, overall, our proposed budget for all three of our primary areas, our infrastructure area of technology services, which covers most of the services we provide, our CBX, and our electronic services, which does telecom, our proposed budget is coming in at $20,644,000, which is actually down from our last our adopted budget from last year, which was $21,116,000. So we actually did make some cuts this year that was inclusive of 2 positions that we cut that were retirees that we did not replace, and some other expenditures. The total amount of expenditures we cut was a total of $656,000 out of our budget, which allowed us to have a general fund reduction of 11%. That gave us a $486,000 general fund reduction. The rest was out of allocation and some CBX funds. For the most part, we were able to find efficiencies, move a few things off that we didn't need. We've done things like negotiate maintenance contracts from 1 year to 5 years. So over the 5-year period, they're actually cheaper. And also try to get better efficiencies in some of our procurement. So we got better deals. And then we've deferred some training. And also looked at some deferment of some other software development that we are going to do in-house versus procure. So it allowed us to make those cuts without significantly hurting our services, but it does mean that that turnip is a little bit drier than it used to be. We're to the point now to where any additional cuts will probably start relating to service cuts. But right now, if the question is, are we sustainable? The answer is, I would say, is yes. We're in pretty good shape right now. We'll just have to see where the county goes from here as far as requirements for new services, and then we can adjust our budget accordingly to make sure we meet those service requests. One thing that is an issue that Mr. Cummings has mentioned is maintenance agreements. It's been a problem for us, and it's becoming a big one, is that as the county starts doing more and more cloud-based solutions, we're moving from what's called a maintenance agreements to subscription agreements, which means we're actually renting software off the cloud instead of running it here. Upfront costs could be cheaper, but ongoing costs are more expensive, which means that instead of a capital outlays for some of the software, we're now seeing increases annually in our maintenance agreements. Originally last year, our maintenance agreements were $2.9 million. This next year, we're up to $3.3 million in subscription and maintenance agreements. Unfortunately, when we have to make cuts, we cannot cut those because it means services are cut. And so it has to be taken in other areas. So that is something that we'll have to monitor in the future as people want new software. We're going to have to really look at what does that mean to the maintenance budget. Overall, the personnel services went down about 5%. That was, again, the 2% the 2 people that we did not replace. Our materials and services also went up a little bit, again, because we went from a maintenance of 2.9 to 3.3 on our maintenance agreements. Our indirect cost and cost allocation charges are pretty much flat. And our capital outlay that we're planning on purchasing for this year is down, but the fund balance roll is showing a large amount because we're still waiting for equipment to roll in, and we'll have to account for that by rolling those numbers into the next fiscal in supplemental. But they're not actually increases in budget. They're just moving it from one fiscal year to another as the equipment comes in. We have a large procurement this year for network, new phone switches, and an upgrade to our cloud services that we actually provide here. Our whole network and our computer systems are in a virtual environment. So we actually act as a cloud and that lets us provide services to the county and other agencies and integrate with increased cloud services in the industry. So we're coming to be more and more of a hybrid environment. And we'll be doing a lot more of that over the next year. I hope that kind of gets to generic there. Was there any specific things, Dave, you wanted to cover on this?
No, I think that specifically hits it on the head. And I think the next slide that you have shows kind of by department, within my department, by division, within the department, what the cuts were. I just wanted to kind of highlight that we had 56 people, and we actually went down 3, 2 of them. I believe one was a retirement and the other was a vacant position we had that we gave up. And then of course, Chris Hawkins, which was one of my favorite hires, got stolen away from me by Gary. But that's a good thing. He's still in the county. And he's moved out of our budget. And kind of answer some of Paul's questions in advance here. We actually had quite a few retirements this last year. And we have actually another one starting tomorrow, and then another one, I believe, at the end of the year, which is one of my managers, just because we're getting older. And we did fill 4 of those, and 2 of them we gave up for budget cuts. And this year it was sustainable and easy, but it won't be in future years. We do, if you notice over in CBX, they're self-sustainable and they're going to self-fund 3 positions, which will actually allow us to bid on projects and be more competitive for fiber lane projects. And they're going to self-fund that through their revenues. But I think that everything else is on there. So about 53 people. We're sustainable right now. We're going to make it. Next year is going to be a lot tougher. Those will be some tough decisions to make next year. David, anything you want to say about this slide? My department?
No, again, it does show amended budget in the comparison, which it does get skewed a little bit by our capital. We are working with finance on a way to do that even better as we learn how this works. But okay. Bottom line is we did take 11% on the general fund to help make sure we came in balanced.
Okay, shoot us on to the next slide. These are some things from the MFR. One of the things that we really saw when we went through and we redid our MFR plan to be more in line with the county's MFR plan, and we wanted our county strategic plan to be more in alignment with the department's specific strategic plans. We did hire a budget analyst that is going to be interfacing with all the departments, learning more about what the departments do so that we can provide better services, because our goal is to be able to provide internal services so that they can do their jobs. Under CBX, we're saving the county and people throughout the county a lot more money by offering the upgraded fiber connections at a lower rate, and that's been a real economic boost for the county and for everybody within the county. And then our networking, which we have to make sure that our network stays up and make sure our core operations stay up so everybody can do their job. And a big part of that is keeping the bad guys out with our new Chief Information Security Officer, keeping out the phishing and all the viruses and everybody else that keep hammering on us daily. So those are big things that we've been doing with MFR measures that we're taking a look at. Go ahead in the next slide, Dave, so we can get rolling through this. Major accomplishments. I'm not going to go through every one of these because I want to make sure we stay within our time frame. And I already talked about, we created a new business staff analyst person. We are upgrading our storage in the county and making our network more secure for what we do within the county. And like I said, keeping out the bad guys. We don't want to end up with what happened to Tillamook County, where they went in and took them down for several weeks. And that's not going to happen here. I can guarantee you that. Started a major overhaul of our county network. Network equipment out there is getting to be a little old. It's 7, 8 years old. We're going to refresh that whole network within the county, make sure that the network stays up. And a big one to me is we're implementing the largest system, the emergency notification system within the county, specifically within the PSB and DSB. I think corrections already has it, and some of the other offices in the county already have it for emergency notification in case we have any active shooters or anything else going on like that. It's going to be very, very important to me to keep the Board of Commissioners safe during the board meetings, and especially the fourth floor of the BCC and at the PSB, and make sure that the county's safe, keep viruses out, keep the bad guys out. And we've done a pretty good job of that so far. So anyways, the answer, I think I had some questions on here. How many new hires we made over this last year? We've made 4. All but one were from retirements, and 2 of them, actually we had 6 positions, and 2 of them we gave up for budget. And do you feel your budget is stabilized? We are this year, just barely. We're stabilized, we're gonna make it. We're gonna keep the level of service up and going. Next year is a whole different ballgame. And we'll just have to perform whatever magic we need to do to make sure that programs keep going. We're not one of those departments that can really cut a whole program. If we cut GIS that we offer in the county, the department still need GIS, so they'd have to go out and find where they could contract to get GIS services. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for us to cut a whole program like that. Web development's the same thing. How many vehicles over $10,000? Well, we can only think of one. CBX is because they want to start doing a lot of their own work themselves rather than contracting out. They're going to buy a used bucket truck from the county that I believe is buying a newer bucket truck for themselves. And so we're going to be buying one of the used bucket truck. It's not a dump truck. It's one of those things where little guy gets into it, and you see him at the PGE poles and lifts the guy up to the pole so he can take care of the wiring. That's what the bucket truck is, but that's the only one. And that's all I have. So any questions? I'm sure there's a bunch of questions.
Yeah, we do have some questions for you, and Brenda is going to facilitate.
Absolutely.
Right now we have 3 of them in queue, and we have about, we have a few minutes. We have about 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, good, perfect.
Yeah, thanks.
We love to answer questions.
Mrs. Travis.
Dave, thanks for your presentation, all the good work you do, and keeping the technology moving.
Absolutely.
Always love to work with you guys, and appreciate the service you provide. Last year, I believe, during one of the budget cycles, we had talked about expansion of CBX in the county and what that would cost for a capital investment. I think you put a number out there about $480 million roughly. And I bring this up only because yesterday the budget committee was discussing possible new sources of revenue. And as you rolled out your presentation today, you expressed, and it is a policy directive of the board to make the internet connections and broadband service as affordable and competitive and high quality as possible. And those are some respectable measures and goals embedded in there. But it was proposed yesterday that maybe that would be a source of revenue to augment the general fund. And knowing the scope and the scale of a project that size, and if there was a massive infusion from the federal government of $480 million to build that, certainly there would be a lot of time, years probably, to build that out. But we would have to change the policy to make it a profit center. And my question to you is that, I know this is a crazy question. You've got to do some wild averaging and guesstimations. I'll use the word guesstimation to come up with something. But do you feel that that is a profit opportunity in that we accomplish all those goals of keeping a low affordable cost and high-speed service? Is that something that would generate a whole lot of money in any short period of time?
Absolutely, but it's got to be done correctly. As you know, as a business person, and you're an excellent business person, I think all the board members are, you got to put money into the business to grow the business to make it profitable. And right now we have no debt. And as we move forward, that is a way that the county can generate revenue to offset the general fund. But we also want to make sure that we're not driving ourselves into debt while we're doing it as we go along. As you know, there's lots of different ways to do it. The telecoms can be quite profitable. I think that the first way starting would be to start with having us not charge the county sites for their fiber hookups, and then as we get into it and we build and we get more revenue coming in, it can definitely be, and it's something that's always been my plan from the beginning when we went out and brought all this money in to do this fiber backbone, to be able to generate money to offset. And my initial thought was to augment my budget so that I wouldn't have to ask for any money, which would give more money to the other departments. But, I think down the road, if, in a perfect world where we had the money to provide the fiber backbone and the services out throughout the county and bring in the revenue that the telecoms bring in, we could absolutely ease the impact on the general fund, because it can be very lucrative. But that's a tough situation, being a county public sector where we're not really supposed to be competing or doing this sort of thing. It's kind of new ground, but I think it's becoming more and more accepted across the nation as something that can be done and something that can generate revenues, and specifically with the COVID-19 situation where we have to get the connectivity for the people out in the rural areas. And I think even the telecoms, local telecoms, agree that we need to do that. So to answer your question, yes, it can be done. It has to be done right. It can't be done overnight. It'll take some money to do it. It'll take some time to do it. It'll take, I don't want to say it'll take more expertise, because I think my staff that I have the expertise to do it, but we will have to augment the staff to do that. And I think the 3 positions you saw that we're adding to help us be our own crews is a step towards that. And it's something that I think is going to be really exciting for the county, and it's really going to help out the general fund here in the county. It's an exciting thing. So yes, yes, yes to everything that you're thinking, Paul. You're thinking down the right road.
Okay, well, I'll look for that $480 million. We're going to scrape that up.
Well, hopefully I can get some grants to help me out with that.
Mr. Feely?
Thank you. Hey, Dave.
Hey, hi, Tom.
How are you doing? Hey, I just want to hear from you on your level of involvement with the ERP discussions.
Actually, we've been involved extensively from the beginning. Back to several years ago when everybody thought that PeopleSoft was going to go away, and then our maintenance fees were going to go out of sight, and our chart of accounts and everything we needed to do. And then unfortunately, as the time rolled on, the budget situation, everything kind of connected in. But we've been connected in very extensively with HR and with finance, and taking a look at that whole situation as it rolls along. And they've kept us tuned into that.
Good.
A lot of money, like you said. Everybody always
it can be a lot of money.
Yeah.
It can be a black hole.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. It's not like the old days where if you replace a finance system, it was $50,000. It's a lot of money to do it. And it's always a lot more than you think. So you really got to plan it out. And I think with Evelyn on board and Elizabeth on board, I think we have some good people that are very smart people that can do some good planning. And my technology staff is just top notch now. I've built a really good staff since I've been here over the last 1,000 years.
No, it sounds like you guys do a great job.
But yeah, I think we're at a point where we can do some good planning and do it right. And it's going to cost some money to do it.
Yeah. Okay, my other question's on page 5, your top performance measurement there. How do you measure that? You know, that you're in 100% alignment with departmental strategic plans. I mean, who measures it and how?
Good.
Dave, can you grab that and pull it up?
The reasons why it's got 2 asterisks next to there, because we recognize that issue as well.
Yeah.
Right now, it's basically surveying the departments, trying to understand where they are. And we're hoping that with our new business analyst, we can start coming up with some measurements that will allow us to measure how much
the measurement
matches our strategic plan.
Okay.
And that is going to be a difficult one.
Yeah, it just looks like it would be kind of hard to do. But I'm glad to hear you're involving the departments in part of that evaluation. So.
Well, we're hoping with the new business analyst, it'll be a lot better. That we'll have a better understanding of using common language between everybody.
True.
To be able to actually understand what they need to make sure we're planning it out correctly.
Right. That sounds really good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the key is that, we're a team here. Gary Schmidt's really promoting that. We're a team, and we got to pull together and make it work as a team, and we'll do it.
All right. Sounds good.
Commissioner Humberston?
Thank you. Dave, I really appreciated your comments about expanding CBX and going into an ISP as a profit center for the county. For 2.5 years, you and I have been working together to try and get there. Hopefully, in the near future, we will get started on that. I think COVID-19 and the need to work remotely has demonstrated the crucial importance of that. And I won't belabor it beyond that at this time, but I would like you to do one thing and share with the committee as a whole the redundancy project to Denver that your team is working on and its purpose.
Great, yes. We have a project of running and connecting fiber all the way to Denver, which will link all the way back to the Pittock in Portland, which is the major center where all the fiber comes into Portland and then it's dispersed out from there. This link has the best percentage, the most highly percentage of staying up during a major earthquake than any other of the links around Portland area, which makes it highly desirable for continuance of operations and highly desirable for the telecoms to get on that link. And we are finalizing that link. We already have some of the telecoms lined up to want to get on there. It's pretty exciting. It was something that was a brainchild of Duke Dexter, my manager over at CBX. And I think it's going to be a big help to this area for continuance of operations. All the other major lines coming in go over major fault lines here in Portland. This one will not. So
will it generate positive income?
Absolutely. We're talking some commercial big bucks coming in. And we like those business accounts. We like the commercial accounts because they pay us the most. And the more we get, the more revenue we have coming in. And I think more and more people are seeing us as an equal in the telecom area. And we talk about the telecom and the CBX and the ISP and everything. Just, don't hold my hands. Let me do this. Let me get this stuff going. Let me partner with everybody. And what's exciting is, Ken, everybody, the telecoms are jumping on board. They're becoming partners. They're becoming friends, and they're seeing that this is a good thing for the county. This fiber backbone is the Oregon Trail. It's the Barlow Road from the old days. Here through Clackamas County, and it's going to bring the economic development in, and it's going to keep people in the county working so they don't leave the county to get jobs, and it's going to make our county boom. So I'm pretty excited about it. As excited as an old dude can be.
Well, Dave, you and I are in about the same old dude boat, but quite frankly, yeah, it warms the cockles of my heart too. I'm very excited about it. I'm looking forward that we go forward with this. Thank you very much for sharing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for all your support, Ken. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Schrader.
Martha.
So what telecoms are coming on board at this point?
Well, we're doing well. SandyNet, which is our new partner out to Kiwanis, which is
Okay.
where we ran fiber out to, and we're in that residential area right now, hooking up homes, and they're providing the ISP services. Reliance Connects, that frankly, and we love Reliance Connects. They were one of our big contenders when we applied for the grant. They're partnering with us, buying
Good.
more fiber from us. They're providing the fiber link for us into Barton Park, and they're coming on board.
Okay. Well, we had talked about convening a conversation with the providers, Ken and I, and we talked to the ESD about convening them to see what cooperation we can pull together to make sure there's access out there. So I'm glad to hear they're starting to come along.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and during the COVID thing, with all the hotspots and everything's, and the ones I think we have 10 going. We're going to have another 10 going. The other telecoms are doing that. Comcast is stepping up. They're all seeing it, and they're all coming together. So it's
Good.
something I thought would never happen, but it is.
Nothing like the pandemic to make progress.
Exactly.
Sure.
I think
One thing we can tell you, the schools are definitely on board.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you and your staff. We really appreciate your time with us, and excited after being on the Economic Development Commission, where we talked about, getting cable out to more people. That's going to be really awesome. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And Hilda, if I could throw out a thanks to one of my staff, Kevin Galusha. He's been doing all the webinar stuff and the Zoom stuff, and has been making a lot of this happen. And I just want to thank him for making this budget stuff so smooth.
Yeah, this is really a good format to do this in. So who would have thought? Right?
Yeah, I like this a lot better than sitting in a big room with everybody.
Yeah. I miss the personal touch, but that's okay. Next year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you guys very much.